bought one gift when I was at Community Village. Now, last time I bought gifts for everybody, right? And whoever didn't want the golf ball, that's okay, there's still a golf ball out there. But I brought one t-shirt, and I brought this for someone who actually serves this church very quietly. Doesn't have a really big title, but she's here every week, and she goes back and she helps set up in the back and set up all the food, and this is our friend Jeanette. So I brought her a gift from the and you can take it out and show it to everybody, because I thought of you when I saw this. And I hope I got it small enough. My spirit sparkles. We're going to start off with a little meditation. Along with my talk, one of the things that we want to think about is, who are we? And where are you on your spiritual path? Are you in the middle of a growth spurt? Are you at a place where you've stopped and you're just listening for some guidance? Are you at a place where you're healing? Are you at a place where your love is oozing out of you from every single pore? That's where I am. So as we gently close our eyes, let's think about who we are. Let's start with ourselves as a person. Let some words come to you about who you be in this world. You be generous. You be loving. What are your words for who you be? Let those words come to you. Maybe one or two, maybe 3 words. But let them come. And just concentrate on your breath. That came to you, pick one word that really, really feels like you. And take that one word into your heart space. Open your heart up and accept that word as who you be in the world. Energize that word with your heart love energy. Take it in proudly and say, I am this. While we do that, let's take a minute and go into the silence. I am this. gently start to come back. We come back being our word. We come back being that came to us, that we are. And we wear that proudly. We wear that sacredly. We wear that holy. And we come back gently. Open your eyes. Who do you think you are? And who do we think we are? That's where we're going today. So the first, I want to get the pictures from Unity Village out of the way. So this is my graduating class, and I never had this. But can you see me in there in the second row? I've got my Native American necklace on. And this was my graduating class 2 years ago. But when I went to Unity Village for conference, the first night of conference, well, there was a party the first night, but the first day of conference, there's always the graduation of the new ordinance. So let's go to the next slide. And this is Jeff, and Jeff is from Unity of Chicago. And over here, down there smiling, Reverend Lori Petrosino. And I did a grief class with her, and she's extremely awesome. This is Reverend Rick Horsey, you know that guy in the middle? Yeah, he was there partying. This is Becky, Reverend Becky. Now, Reverend Becky is at Unity of El Cajon, and they are ordaining her this morning in their service. She's going to be ordained as a minister. And then you see Rachel Wooten. Rachel is from Australia. And she is the Reverend Rachel Wooten. So these are all new ministers. Well, Jeff is new. Rick Horsey, the guy in the glasses next to Ken, was a buddy of mine in ministerial school. And we were prayer partners for a long time. So next slide. There is who I stayed with. I stayed with Reverend Carla and Eliana. Eliana is 12. And we all shared a room. And Reverend Tony, of course, you know, we got to see her, and we all went to dinner together and had a good time. And Eliana, I taught her how to play Spite and Malice, which is a card game. And where you can be spiteful and malicious with each other. Let's go to the next one. The next one is, there's the four of us. And then in the middle, between Ken and I, in the middle is Reverend Karol Jean. Now, I will do anything for Reverend Karol Jean. She's from the Urban Ministerial School. And you see Carla back there too. I would do anything for her. Whatever she asks, she's got it. Carol, I need somebody to sponsor a $1,000 table at our thing. And I said, okay, but I only need 2 seats. I said, so invite all the retired ministers, not the old ministers, the retired ministers. I think what I told her, I said, those old retired ministers. And invite them, and they can have the rest of the table. They don't have to pay for a seat at the table. And so Karol Jean and I are good friends. When I go back to Detroit, when I retire, she came up with this. Well, you can come help me do my job. Well, Carol, I think you could take my job. So I'm not looking for a job when I go back to Detroit, Karol Jean. So that's her, and what lovely souls. And next slide. So this is Juneteenth. We had Juneteenth this past week. We did Juneteenth at the village. And we had these lovely African dancers and African songs and stories about what Juneteenth is and why it's so important. And because when there was the Emancipation Proclamation, it didn't get out everywhere. And so Juneteenth is the day when really they went into Texas and those people were announced free. So that's why Juneteenth is so important. And that's Sandra Campbell there. So then Sandra Campbell, as Oprah, interviewed Reverend Johnny Coleman and Reverend Ruth Mosley. And they did a whole interview with these 2 women, 2 black women, who were founders in the Unity movement. Now, Johnny Coleman went to ministerial school, and she was not allowed to live on the grounds. And she told the story of how she missed her bus one day, but she still had to get to class. She still had to get to class. So there she was, walking to Unity Village. And the girl who did Reverend Johnny Coleman, she was awesome. Because she said, as I was walking, God was talking to me. And when I got into the room of all the ministerial students, I walked in there and I said, I quit. I'm not gonna go through this. I can't live on the grounds with all of you in the dorms. I can't swim in the pool. I'm not doing this anymore. And all of those students said, if you quit, we quit. So they went to the Unity powers that be and said, you will find a place for Johnny Coleman. And they did. And it wasn't a big place. She still wasn't allowed to be in the dorms, and she still couldn't swim in the pool for many years. And there was a formal apology made to her eventually, but it took a long time. So that interview was funny and awesome, and there's one more pic of the fountains. This is where I meditate. So when I go to the village, picture me, and there I am telling Carol Jean, I don't want that job. Carol Jean's telling me what I'm gonna do, and next year they're gonna do a picnic, coming home picnic back at in Detroit. I said, well, she said, you gotta come for that. So, just warning you, next September I may not be here. So that is where and let's see if I have another one. Do I have another one?
So that's documented, that you're telling her now.
That is documented. Do you see my no? Okay. So that's it for the pictures, but I want to tell you that prior going to the conference, UWM, Unity Worldwide Ministries, which is not the board that I sit on. I sit on Unity Worldwide headquarters. But Unity Worldwide Ministries, who's in charge of all the churches and all the ministers and the school, they separated with their CEO. And they separated with their CEO because there was lots of chaos kind of going on. Lots of reasons why he was let go. Or he left. I think he was let go, but I don't know the official version, so some were really good reasons that he was let go, some maybe not so good. So instead of the CEO report from Unity, the staff filled in, and then we heard from the board of UWM about all the issues that are going on. So there was a membership model. And in the membership model, they told us as ministers that we had to tithe to Unity Worldwide Ministries. Well, who is tithing between? Do I tell you you have to tithe here? You have to tithe? No. I give you the opportunity to tithe here. We give you, Unity the West Side Church gives you the opportunity to tithe here. But you're not told what you will tithe and who you will tithe and how you will tithe. So that was one of the things that was kind of like the elephant in the room. So there were a number of elephants in the room, and then they talked about all the elephant dung that was in the room from all the elephants, which I thought was very interesting. And here's my takeaway. Unity, our Unity, is going through a little bit of an identity crisis. And everybody's afraid to talk about it. Everybody's afraid to talk about, are we Christian? Some people really believe we are Christian. Some people believe that our roots are Christian, but we've gone so far past that. We've gone into Buddhism, we've gone into Sikhism, we've gone into other religions, and we embrace them all because there are truths. Have you ever heard the Quran? Read the Quran? There are truths in every religion. And that's what I believe we as Unity embrace. Have you ever been in a place in your life when you're going through your life day to day, But all of a sudden you stop and ask yourself, who am I? You might get a health diagnosis, or you might get something that spiritually shifts you, maybe a change in your relationship, or something bad happens to you, or something good happens to you, or just something happens to you. And you ask yourself, who am I? What do I believe spiritually? Do I believe in one presence, one power, or am I still praying to my Catholic God, which I catch myself doing every now and then? I say, God's not up there. God's within me and you and everybody and in life. And I know that, but sometimes we go back to who we were. So who am I? It's okay that unity is asking itself this question. And what Jane will tell you is when chaos comes, I love chaos. Because how many people have chaos in your life? How many of you love it? Call it good. Say thank you, God. Thank you, God, for that chaos. Because out of chaos comes something amazing. And it wouldn't come unless the chaos came first. The rainbow never arrives until what? After the rains, right? So, whenever we call ourselves Christians, I always ask myself, is that the ones who follow Jesus, or the ones who want to exclude everybody? Because there's two kinds of Christians. There's ones that follow Jesus, that believe the words that he said, and there's others that won't feed the poor and won't help the babies. And it's a very good question. You know, my friends, we're here today, as we are all Sundays, to awaken ourselves, to rise to new challenges, to let go and let God. With today's challenges or pre-perceived obstacles, is there something standing in your way? We're all gathered for truth, mutual truth. And my role is not as a holy oracle. I am on the same quest as you. My role is to incite and challenge and urge you and me to look deeper for answers. Not words from me, but answers from within you that are your truth. Inspirations from what I say might awaken something that you've always known. Truth is inward. It's an inward journey and it's an inward quest. And spirit cannot be captured on paper or in a tongue. Truth is a flow of guidance and inspiration. Truth is nonverbal, although we do try to put it into words. So what is standing in your way? There's so many excuses we make not to rise to a challenge. You can make a list of the reasons. All the things that are standing in your way. Is it your health? Fix one thing and another thing pops up. It's like health whack-a-mole, I call it. Health whack-a-mole. I fix one thing and something else comes up. Spiritual? Are you playing spiritual whack-a-mole? Where I work on my spirit with one thing, and then here comes forgiveness. Now I've got to do forgiveness again. And how many times do I have to do forgiveness? Not 70 times 7. Mine is more like 1,070 times 7. Life seems to be one thing after another. Matthew 10:36 says, a man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Today, we'll delve into that Bible passage in our unity metaphysical way. Does this mean his children, his servants, and such that he is either begotten or brought up, or that are daily fed at his table and maintained by him. That is how some people interpret the scripture. But Jesus was speaking of the household of your mind. Your biggest enemies are those thoughts that you think about yourself. In truth, we discover the only thing keeping us from our good is us. Our obstacle, it's not a thing, it's our feeling, it's our reaction. It's our thoughts and feelings of inadequacy. I can't do this because whatever your obstacle is. So think about what you want to do and you say to yourself, I can't do this because that's your obstacle. Make a list of why you can't do something you're called upon to do. Is it your time? Is it your education, your money? It hurts others. It's uncomfortable for me. There's lots of reasons that you can't do it. And if you think no one will understand, no one knows what you're going through, you're right. Let me just leave that there. Most of our problems are our thoughts, our complexes, our attitudes, our perceptions, or our reactions to things. Why do we react as we do? We're conditioned by life. We're told we're not smart enough, not rich enough. It's the dreaded ain't gots. Ain't got the education, ain't got the money, ain't got the time. And we're told no a lot. And we're told not to get too big-headed. We're told what we're told actually blocks our consciousness. And we need to let go what we're told. You see, it's how we perceive our obstacles and our challenges in looking within as I started to do the work of that challenge. I had to look within myself, and my sisters installed some buttons that said, Carol, as soon as you open your mouth, they're going to know you're stupid. Now imagine a minister who has to get up here every week, and I have that record playing in my head. But I have to tell you, I've scratched it over so many times now, it goes like this. But I can still hear the stupid part every now and then. It's in my head. I do not invite the challenge to take up a chair and stay with me. People tell us who we are all our lives, and we identify through our parents and our teachers, our aunts, our relatives, our siblings, our friends, and their vision of us. You take in some barb that was set against you, all those negative things that we're told behind our back, never ever to our face. Our human brain says, see, they were right about you. However, our drive to achieve must be stronger than the obstacle. I'm reminded of the Bible story about the children of Israel. They were coming out of Egypt under the direction of Moses to find the promised land. Metaphysically, from the Bible, Egypt represents Coptic land, from the Hebrew name Mizraim, which means shut in, restraint, misery, tribulation, distress. So understand, metaphysically, that's where they were. And we all experience our own versions of Egypt in life. Misery and distress, ministerial school. Or my first marriage, I don't know. Physical, it could be weight, it could be drinking, it could be the food choices we make, it could be desires, it could be gossiping. In your intellect, it could be your mind. It could be that you're not logical. In your emotional psyche, it could be anger or shame. Financial, it could be feeling a lack. Egypt represents our distress. And the Bible suggests that there's always a way shower that comes along, shows us a way out of enslavement. Friends, there's always something or someone that comes along to lead us. What comes along is inspiration of God, a healing process, an inner flow of guidance that urges us along, and ideas come, divine ideas. What comes along is the ascending urge of man. What comes along is the God spell, God's activity in us. Moses is a symbol of that ascending urge and higher awareness to the promised land. Moses got all those people to leave with him out of their enslavement. They crossed a river. Where? To the promised land, to Canaan. When they got to the promised land, they sent out 12 spies to check it out and report back. They were supposed to report on the appraisal of the inhabitants' defenses. And could the Israelites live there and possess that promised land? Well, what happens when you try to possess promised land? It was the land of milk and honey. The spies brought back these grapes, these huge, delicious grapes. Two of the spies, Joshua and Caleb, said, hey, let's go in. However, the 10 other spies says there are huge giants and we are grasshoppers. We can't go in there. So out of fear, out of this fear, they went back to the desert for another 40 years. They were discouraged and dissuaded because of their grasshopper consciousness. We can identify with them. Is there a time you had a feeling like a giant was before you and you were a mere grasshopper? That was your grasshopper mind. I'm reminded of a story with my nephew Joel. He was moving a table and I said, you can't move that table. It's as big as you are. And he said, I'm as big as the table. So often we say, this is too big, too much for me to handle. Back to the ain't got mentality, ain't got time, ain't got resources, ain't got help, ain't got education, it's too much for me. And if you're thinking this, you're living like a grasshopper amongst giants. I invite you to think of yourself as a giant. I invite you to fix your grasshopper consciousness. We talked about change my heart. It starts in mind. Change my mind. My heart changes with it. And I love that song because it's telling God, let me be like you. So I want to end this talk today with whatever is going on with unity is chaos right now. It is really a crap show. I had to think of a word to say. I can say crap, right? It's a crap show right now. But I have to tell you that out of all that crap, the lotus blooms, right? In the mud, the lotus blooms. When you're dealing with stuff, all your stuff, something's there for you. You just have to glean what it is. And you do this by what we've asked the UWM board to do. We've asked them to go silent. And we've asked them to pray for discernment. And we've all said that we will pray with them for discernment as the next right step, and the next right step, and the next right step. And that's how you do it, folks. That's how it works. Moving from our grasshopper consciousness into our giant consciousness. We are spiritually divine children of the Divine One Most High. And whatever you're going through, it is leading you to something better. That's my talk today. Thank you so much.